Chapter 182. Borrowing the sword from the cold waterfall, the sword returns to its natural state, shocking the dragon S. Gu Chongqing drew out his own red sky serpent shake sword. Its winding form would usually confound general sword cultivators. Might as well use mine. Bai Qiufu hesitated for a moment, then suddenly sprung up, shooting towards the sky. Yu Qungan took over the sword, drew it out, and found the blade to be thinner and longer than a typical sword. Its purple surface was engraved with undecipherable patterns. In the high sky, Han Yi had already offered up his golden core, valiantly fending off the demonic shadows coming from all directions. Celestial demonic transformation, 8th form, whispers of the demon god. From a dominating height, Lin Shiwan, overlapped with his shadowy figures, bellowed. A towering ghost-faced godlike figure emerged, grander than any previous demonic shadows. Controlling the purgatory of 10,000 bone staff, the fierce spirits roared. An ocean of blood, mountains of corpses. Or perhaps the profound abyss of purgatory, the towering devil mountain bore down like a sweeping tide. It's been quite a while since I last used this form. Han Yi, if you perish under this, at least your death would be befitting. Lin Shiwan's expression was rather cold. In his mind though, he was genuinely startled at Han Yi was able to keep up with him to such an extent without a magic treasure. The might of the golden core was evident. He could not afford to hold back. Otherwise, the one who dies would definitely be him. Faced with such dire stakes, neither maintained their former camaraderie. Han Yi noticed the formidable force of Lin Shiwan's strike. Not playing the fool, he intended to momentarily evade the brunt of the attack. But shortly, he realized the demonic shadow was persistently following him. Absolutely impossible to shake off, like an unnamed curse, tailing behind him. Young lord, catch the sword. Just then, a clear voice sounded from above. Bai Qiufu launched her own immortal sword. Cold waterfall towards Han Yi. Zing. A white flying sword of antique design whizzed through the air towards Han Yi. With swift eyes and nimble hands, he reached out and caught it perfectly in his hand. Upon close examination, it was a slender and antique-looking 3 1/3 foot sword. The blade itself was formed from alternating bands of blue-white frost, rounded and sharp like a tear. Having obtained the flying sword, Han Yi's eyes immediately became sharp, his fighting spirit gradually stirring. The sword intent on his body continually rose, causing the immortal sword Cold Waterfall in his hand to radiate a startling, dazzling icy light. As his sword intent escalated to extreme levels, the several swords, held by the demonic sect disciples and the cultivators of the Great Zhou, in the battlefield trembled slightly, and the sword store in the treasury of the Great Zhou also echoed with a resonant hum. All of them moved in Han Yi's direction. This moment, it felt like a homage to 10,000 swords. Han Yi stood still in the air, wearing a white robe passed down directly from the ancestors. His robe bore cloud motifs fluttered with the wind, his magic power revolving vehemently. The top-tier swordsmanship skills, along with the orange attribute descendant of the sword, immortal. LED Han Yi's cold waterfall to radiate a golden sword check. He threw everything he had into the strike directed at Lin Shiwan. Zing! The white sword edge collided with the formidable illusion of Lin Shiwan. The sound was like a clash of metal and stone, culminating in a roaring outcry that shook the earth. Han Yi's body was filled with fluctuating sword intent, and the echo of his sword was as rhythmic as the tide. Bai Qiufu, the princess of the Gold Crow Kingdom, saw this scene and expressed her astonishment. This is sword intent. I never expected this young master's swordsmanship to have been refined to such an extent. I'm afraid he could even match up to the 3 master swordsmen of Fuyao Sword Palace in Fuyao State. Gu Chongqing was also taken aback by this sword intent and murmured. Swordsmanship has 5 levels. Sword QJ forms momentum. Sword chest solidifies into a barrier. Sword crosses the dragon gate. Sword condenses a saint's will. Sword reaches the state of original purity. Even me, I just surpassed the dragon gate level. Yet, this man has already stepped into the stage of sword intent, and is on the verge of reaching the final state of returning to the original purity. This is the stage of surpassing the mundane and becoming a saint. Once he gets there, he can rightfully become a grandmother of swordsmanship at a young age. After listening, Bai Qiufu was even more surprised, and her face showed surprise. Are you saying, this young master's swordsmanship is near the state of returning to original purity? Exactly, It's extremely close. Gu Chongqing looked at the snake-shaped treasure sword in his hand that had been drawn, and admired. Once the sword reaches the state of returning to the original purity, it means the swordsmanship is truly accomplished, returning to the root and the truth, possessing an untainted sword heart. Once the sword heart stands tall with pride, the sword intent will not fall, naturally unafraid of any means. The impurity cannot come near, and all kinds of evil cannot invade. At this moment, in the sky, an ethereal figure of an old man, grand and full of golden light in his divine eyes, emerged behind Han Yi, as if the real master of Cold Waterfall had returned to the world. Lin Shiwan noticed the strange apparition of the sword immortal. His usually calm pupils revealed a touch of surprise. He didn't expect that Han Yi could borrow the power of Cold Waterfall and bring out the true strength of the immortal sword. This immortal sword clearly still had a residual sword intent, and Han Yi unintentionally stirred this wisp of intent. To be able to achieve this indicated that Han Yi's swordsmanship had reached a sublime state. The forces of both men collided, causing the entire royal city to tremble, and the sound echoed throughout the sky. It was hard to believe that this was a battle between two alchemists of the Golden Cur stage. Feeling the dreadful sword intent in the void, Lin Shiwan quickly noticed that his celestial demonic shadow was gradually dimming, and he started to contemplate retreating. As he hesitated, Han Yi's 9-turn golden core came in handy. The magic power seemed endless and constantly replenished. The golden light nurtured Han Yi's whole body, flowed into the meridians, delivered to the QJC. It was like a golden melting furnace. Ching, Han Yi's sword-wielding hand poured even more magic power into the sword. At this moment, the light shone brilliantly, and the sword waved like the waves that had been rolled up, completely overwhelming the imposing force of Lin Shiwan's magical weapon. Then, a loud noise echoed, and Lin Shiwan's body was directly blown away by the remaining sword QJ.